Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for the opportunity to be here. We just pray that your guidance and wisdom in all the decisions that we make. In Jesus' name, amen.
Meeting's called to order at 6:33.
I think they're watching.
All right. So, participation in school board meetings. I'm going to go ahead and read the public participation notes from our school board website on our school website, from our renewal policy. It goes into a little bit more depth than this that's in the agenda. The school board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on corporation matters. To permit fair and orderly public expression, the board may provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish procedures to govern such participation in board meetings. Presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the procedures of the board for its conduct. Presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. Public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. Anyone having a legitimate interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public portion of the meeting. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer, who will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, group affiliation, and if and when appropriate, your name is fine. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. We've reduced that to 3 to try to allow more people to talk. If your time is up at 3 minutes and you have more to say, if there's extra time at the end after everyone has spoken, then you can readdress the board. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Presiding officer may prohibit public comments which are frivolous, repetitive, or harassing, interrupt, warn, or terminate a person's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant, request any individual to leave the meeting when that person behaves in a manner that is disruptive of the orderly conduct of the meeting. The portion of the meeting during which the participants of the public is invited shall be limited to 15 minutes unless extended by the presiding officer. We're extending that to an hour tonight. All right. I have a couple opening remarks before we go to public comment. The first of which is about the process leading up to this meeting. There's been quite a bit of speculation about the process by which this meeting came. It was about a little over 2 weeks ago that it became apparent that we were having quite a few cases at all the schools, and we knew that we were going to have to do something. Our first inclination was to get together to talk about it in an executive session and then hold a public meeting. This meeting tonight was always going to happen. From the very first day, this was the day that it was going to happen. We found out about 2 or 3 days after we scheduled our executive session that the public access counselor issued an opinion that COVID-related policies were not a discussable item in the executive session, because many schools were thinking the same thing that we were. Many boards were thinking along the same lines we were. So we canceled our executive session. Okay. So the reason we're having a public meeting tonight is because we value your opinions. We live among you. We're your neighbors. None of us, I don't think, are glad that we're here tonight, but we feel that it's a necessity. We want to hear from you. We want to hear questions about the policies that we have outlined. If you have concerns about them, if things are confusing to you, suggestions moving forward. We got several emails, respectful, good emails from individuals who offered some good suggestions about how to shape our policy. Of course, then the governor came out and said if you have masks, then you don't have to quarantine, and we had to look at the whole thing over again. So we're here to hear you. We value your opinions. We also obviously did not want to be in a place where we have any mask mandates, because we didn't start with them at the beginning of the year. Some schools started with them at the beginning of the year, just believing inevitably that that's where they would end up. We were hopeful, optimistic about it, but we've had, how many cases? 35? I think we're at 33 in less than 4 weeks. That's more than we had all year last year, right?
What percentage is that?
Of the total student population, about 3%, 2.5% to 3%. Now,
Quarantines, we're coming up on close to 30% of our student population in quarantine.
our hope about the comments tonight is that they would be an example for our children about how to discuss tough matters, because this is a tough one, okay? And I'll leave it at that, all right? Oh, by the way, our policy was also shaped by recommendations from the Governor's Office, the State Board of Health, and the Greene County Board of Health. If we get recommendations from those groups and we don't follow those recommendations, and there could be, and if there is a case in our community that's traced back to the school, we could lose our liability insurance and get sued, okay? So also keep that in mind. That went into our decision-making, is our liability when it comes to our COVID policy. All right. I think our first person to comment is Natalie. I have a list. There are, crossed out a few times, I think 11 people on the list. So that should allow for some time for some other folks to come in if they want to. All right. Natalie Crow.
This is my first school board meeting, so. Hello, I'm Natalie Crow, mother of 3 Eastern Korean students that are ineligible for COVID-19 vaccination due to age. I am also a nurse of 15 years. I believe in science. I believe in information and data from credible sources, not information that is passed around on social media in an attempt to divide our community. I am not pro-mask. I'm not anti-mask. I am pro-in the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't want my children, or anyone for that matter, to have to wear a mask all day, but I continue to wear a mask, and my children wear a mask while indoors. However, masks are more effective against the spread of COVID-19 if everyone wears them. So I have a couple of examples. I didn't want to bore you with my nurse details, but Tippecanoe County in Lafayette area is one of the nursing areas that I care manage. So there's data from 5 schools. You guys are probably aware, but if not, I'll make you aware of what I know. There was 5 schools in that county. 4 of them chose to go ahead and initiate a mask mandate before starting the school year. 1 of them chose to not do so. The 4 schools that implemented the mandatory masks had less than 11 positive cases and 20 quarantines related to those cases in the first week of school. The school that didn't mandate masks but left it optional had 42 positives in the first week, leading to 388 quarantines due to the no mask and the social distancing rule. Marion County, California, an unvaccinated teacher who thought she had allergies would sometimes remove her mask to read to masked students because there was a mask mandate in place. She tested positive. 12 out of her 24 students contracted COVID-19. Before they knew it, they had spread it to other students, siblings, and parents, totaling 27 cases reported by the CDC linked to that one teacher. Data pulled from American Academy of Pediatrics publication shares that from the week of 8/19 to 8/26, 22.4% of reported COVID-19 cases were pediatric in the United States. That's over 200,000 cases. Our county is red, high transmission. Our defense is masks, social distancing, and hand hygiene. Masks will help keep children in-person learning. In-person learning, I know, is best for my children. We tried it the other way. It didn't work out. And a lot of other children in this community I know would benefit from in-person learning versus virtual. My husband and I are lucky to have careers and employers that allow us to work from home. Despite that luxury, it was still extremely difficult to balance that act last year. Yes?
3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I timed myself and I was much shorter, but I guess, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need to sign this though, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next speaker we have on the list is John Titus. John here. Next speaker we have on the list is Karen Knight.
Karen McKnight, my address is 2789 North Van Dieden Road, Salisbury. I have 3 kids in Eastern Green. I'm a physical therapist for 20 years, and I work in nursing homes, 2 nursing homes that had COVID, Rantham, and something. Thank you for exploring ways to make COVID less disruptive in our schools and the opportunity to voice our concerns. Most upsetting is the push to return to universal masking. I know this board understood that many in the community would be ready to fight against another mandate, and the governor's policy, written in such a way, put us between a rock and a hard place. Support our children, putting them in masks, and allow them to stay in school, or make them wear a mask and they, or not wear a mask, and then they get these excessive, unnecessary quarantines. This policy is meant to force mask compliance without him having to enact another mandate, and it's disappointing that you decided to adopt it. The position of this community was made clear by the huge number of children not masking in school, and I think you guys should consider that when you vote originally. Some science. We all love science. In May, the CDC published the largest study of COVID transmission in American schools to date, 90,000 students. Using mitigation policies like distancing and hybrid learning and masking, found to have no statistical benefit in preventing COVID transmission. We saw that in our school last year. We were all masking and distancing. We still had to quarantine. We still had positive cases. We were weeks doing virtual learning, which was really a huge waste of time. Sorry, at least in my house. Quarantines are frustrating. You know, we want kids in school, but masking is not going to make a difference. There's lots of studies on that side. That's burdensome. It's unnecessary. It's academically and emotionally damaging to our kids. And you'll hear more about that from other parents. We need to keep this year as normal as possible. In my opinion, this is the 3rd consecutive year affected by COVID, and it's taking its toll. Other districts reduced their number of close contact quarantines by using a 3-foot distance guideline, allowing close contacts to avoid quarantining altogether if they attend school masked for 10 days after exposure, or accepting negative COVID tests on day 4 or 5. Some districts, like Edgewood, with mask mandates, are seeing similar numbers as far as positive cases, quarantines. They're even close to shutting down school or going virtual. Some districts with mask mandates are also allowing parents to opt out of them and releasing the school from any liability. This would be better than another universal mask mandate. It's also a discriminatory policy as far as the quarantine regarding vaccinated and unvaccinated people. The CDC has admitted that vaccinated individuals can contract and transmit COVID just like anybody else. There should be no difference in the policy between these 2 groups. when many peer-reviewed studies in medical journals suggest natural immunity is long-lasting and more robust than vaccinated immunity. And your current policy doesn't really, 3 months really, for natural immunity is not backed by science. It's creating an us versus them mentality and furthering the divide in our community. Medical experts agree COVID's here to stay, herd immunity may never be achieved, and something we'll just have to learn to live with and manage like flus and colds.
Okay, next on the list is Carrie Burton. Next on the list is time of night.
So I'm Carrie's son. But as a student, I thought you might want to hear my opinion and my experiences. But I'll just straight up say, last year, masks did not help. They did not help my friends. They did not help me. And to start off, when we're in school and talking and answering questions, our mask falls down. And we have to pick it with our hands, which are not the cleanest things on earth, and pull it back up constantly. So we're touching our masks all the time and getting them dirty. And I know people who wear dirty masks. Like, not everyone gets a new mask every day or washes it. So wearing a dirty mask, I'm not sure how that's supposed to protect you. But if you believe masks work, wear one. I don't understand why we can't just say, if you think they work, feel free to wear one. Because that's seemed to work lately. Kids at school, they wear a mask if they want to. If we don't want to, we don't wear a mask. If you're vaccinated, the working vaccine, if you're scared of COVID and you get the vaccine, I don't know why that still makes us have to wear masks, because apparently it works. So why would that enforce us to wear masks? And why is there still quarantine rules if you've had COVID? Because I'm not sure how a vaccine that you inject is more effective than getting the virus itself. But I have friends who have tested positive for COVID and they're still getting quarantined. I'm not sure if masks just work better this year, because I know it would take the quarantine rules down, but last year we were still quarantining, so do they just work better this year? And there's college football's back, obviously, and there's crowds and crowds, thousands of people not wearing masks, and I'm not seeing anything on the news of cases just rapidly spreading through college crowds, killing off people. So why do I have to wear a mask at my individual desk, which most of them are separated from my other classmates? My friends, and including me a little bit, masks give us more anxiety. School is hard enough, and so we have to wear a mask, which raises our anxiety. So if you really cared about our well-being, which I'm not sure you do, then those masks are giving us more anxiety and making school harder. If you cared what your students thought about masks, I think you should take a survey, ask the kids. What do they feel about masks? Do they feel that they help them? Do they feel protected wearing a mask? Because I guarantee most of you will say no, or most of them will say no. And then wearing a mask all day just to take it off at lunch, does COVID not get you when you're eating lunch? Because we're all sharing a crowded cafeteria without masks, but as soon as we stand up, we have to put it back on, so I'm not sure how that works. We've never had to wear masks with other sicknesses. I remember in middle school, half my class was out with the flu or something, and nobody considered masks, so I'm not sure why it's any different this time. If they worked, there should not be any quarantine rules, and I see you should go into elementary classes. I guarantee not all the kids have their mask up the whole time. Teachers have to tell kids, even in high school, to wear their mask right. And so they're touching it. Is that good?
Our next speaker is Christine Workman.
Hello, I'm Christine Workman. I'm the mother of a 6-year-old who's in first grade here at Eastern Greek. My husband, my daughter, and I, we come from Chicago, Illinois, which many of you may or may not have been to. We moved here largely because, besides family being here, but because we value freedom. We value our daughter getting a good education. Last year in Chicagoland, like I had such a hard time trying to homeschool her with the frequent remote schooling that the district imposed on us. And here we thought that, it would be a personal choice about wearing masks. That, that this country is still alive in some places. And, I feel like we had the same priorities on both sides, keeping kids in school, keeping kids safe. I think where we just disagree is how to do this without limiting personal freedom. So first on like the safety and health, I do agree with the previous speaker that a lot of people, especially the little ones, they don't know how to properly wear masks. Like yes, they can be taught to wear them, but is that really what we want to do? It's been shown by many of the pediatric institutions across the nation that when you put masks on children, it does not do a good thing for their social and emotional well-being. It's really hard on my daughter having to wear masks all day. She, and putting her in extracurricular activities, she's got to wear masks then for a very prolonged period of time. If this, pandemic, it was something that's going to be a short-lived thing in our country, like I think, okay, let's do what we can, let's get rid of it quickly. But the evidence has shown contrary to that. I think instead of doing things like forcing our children, who don't have the power to make their own personal decisions, to wear masks, I think what we should do is really encourage the community to do things that have had proven things that work, such as getting more access to the vaccine. Greene County is very lowly vaccinated. It's not a population that has a lot of the vaccine right now, especially in our middle school and high schools. So I don't by any means ever want to force anyone. That again, I think should be personal choice. But I do think expanding our resources on encouraging things like vaccines that actually have proven, that they stop the spread of the disease are more worth our consideration. So, thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker we have is Emily Hobbs.
Hi, my name is Emily Hobbs. I have a 10-year-old that is here at Eastern Green. She is currently at home with COVID because of 3 close contacts, 2 classmates and a teacher in this school. My husband and I are both vaccinated. We have also been tested. We are negative. So I am here to encourage the school board to please put a mask mandate in. Professionally, my sole job is to investigate child fatalities in the South Central region. It's what I do 100% of my time. Greene County is one of those. I can tell you that since this pandemic occurred, not a single child in Greene County or the South Central region has died from wearing a mask. What I can tell you is that families have lost their children from exposures to COVID. I've worked those cases. I've seen families not have access to their family, have inadequate care from their medical providers because they can't get in to see somebody because of COVID and these mandates. Masks are proven to work. At the very least, they're preventative. When we have an intervention mindset, we're never going to get in front of this. So implementing these masks, I believe is super important. I get it, they're uncomfortable. Folks have talked today about social and emotional learning of children and, what it is that they need. And I can tell you after 10 years in social services and working in child welfare, masking during a pandemic is not the downfall of our children. It's trauma, it's poverty, it's abuse, it's neglect. Those are the things that are negatively impacting our children. And I can tell you that with 100% certainty because I'm the one that investigates when they die. And what I can tell you is none of that has been related to us.
Okay, the next speaker we have is Amber Reeves.
Hi, my name is Amber Reeves. I will say it's very hard to wear glasses and a mask. So if I fog up, please forgive me. I want to say this is an impossible situation. It really is, and I don't envy any of you having to discuss policies on such a hard topic. My son and I, who's 14, we both just recovered from COVID, and it was not fun at all. I will say that he is not excited about wearing masks. He doesn't want to wear a mask, but he will. He does feel like it protects him. And I appreciate the time and energy that you have put into putting these policies together. I really appreciate, and so does he, the bullet point in regards to if students or staff are vaccinated or have had COVID within 3 months and within 6 feet of someone who has tested positive, then no quarantine is needed unless symptoms develop. I think that really shows a lot of effort on the school board's part to do some investigatory work on antibodies. And I really appreciate you guys putting that in there. And I think that we as a community should come together. If wearing masks is what's going to keep our kids in school, I think that's what we need to do. I think shortening the quarantine time, masks, shortening the quarantine time, is what we need to do. And I'm all for keeping all these kids in the school as much as possible. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker on the list is Kayla Raines.
Okay, like you said, my name's Kayla Raines. I have a second grader here, and I have a lot of nieces and nephews that have been here, that go here now. Who would have thought that 2 years and some amount of days ago we would be in this position we currently are? I doubt that any of us would have predicted we would be having this conversation. Now, nothing like this has happened before, and for that, I gave a lot of us some grace. I understood the confusion, the fear, and the hysteria around the virus that has plagued our lives. We all went into this thinking 15 days to flatten the curve, or at least that's what they told us. Our first mistake was when we chose to listen to the very people that said to have our best interests in mind, the same people that kept our kids out of school, sports, and social activities, the same people that locked us down and caused thousands of small businesses in and around the community to go under and shut down for good. In the beginning, it was forgivable. We didn't know enough to continue on as we were, but that is no longer the case. We now know how the virus spreads, how to avoid it, and how to treat it. We are no longer going to remain silent and sit idly by as elected officials with political motives make decisions that negatively impact our lives and the lives of our children. I'm going to quote a fellow parent's speech because I'm not sure I could have said it any better. Now, I'm not going to quote every single part of it because I will run out of time. You, the school board, have decided that our kids should go to the school all day, every day, wearing muzzles like rabid dogs. I've listened to your arguments, and I've noticed that there are a few things missing. Namely, evidence, data, science, common sense, and basic human decency. And as you can tell in my voice, it gets me very worked up because I'm very passionate about this, and I will not allow my daughter to go to school again wearing a mask like she did the past couple of years. But luckily, the face shields were an option, but it's insanity. You have presented no facts at all, so let me do that now. Here they are. COVID poses almost no risk to our kids at all. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID. A total of 0.008% of them have died. What about the flu? The CDC estimates that 480 kids died from the flu in the 2018-2019 season. That's more than died from COVID in a year and a half. Now, did anyone on this board suggest at any point that our kids wear a mask then? Did anyone in this room suggest at any point anyone wear a mask for the flu? Which again is more dangerous to kids than COVID, and that's a fact. Now, do any of you know what sort of psychological damage we do to children by forcing them to cover their faces, teaching them that the air is toxic, that everyone around them is sick, to deprive them of the ability to see each other's faces? Do you know what kind of damage that does? Have you thought about it? Have you wondered about the health effects that force the kids to breathe through sweat and spit and dirt-soaked rags every single day? Are you sure that there are no health risks? Do you know what the effect is on children developmentally if they're not able to read each other's facial cues? What about learning to read and they can't see the teacher enunciating the words? you should ask the teachers these questions, because I guarantee you, them in kindergarten up until 3rd grade even, it is harder for them. What does that do to the child's developing immune system if you ask to wear a mask all day and every day? You're satisfied to place this burden on children anyway. And why? It's not to keep them safe. It's not to keep the adults safe. They can all get vaccinated if they want, the adults. No, you do it to make yourselves feel better and to protect yourselves politically, end quote. Now, I know personally kids that have extra anxiety due to masks, and I know for a fact that leads to trauma.
Again, we're within 2 of being done, so if there are people that want to come back up and continue, we'll have the opportunity most likely. Next people we have is Sarah Harrell.
And I just echo everything Lily just said. I can't add anything to that. That was wonderful.
Next speaker we have is Kyle Kelly.
How are you? My name is Kyle Kelly. I have 2 daughters that go to school here. My question for you is, what do you plan to do with the kids who refuse to wear masks? Are you going to send them home? Is there going to be e-learning? Is there going to be a virtual option? Is there going to be a separate place for them to learn about masks? Furthermore, if we're going to make our children wear masks, and I expect to see every person on the board wearing a mask for 8 hours a day. Whether you're in your office by yourself, I don't care. If you're going to expect my child to do it, I expect you to do it. Kids are trying to learn. How about kids with glasses? They got a mask up here, their glasses are fogging up, they're messing with it all day, they're not learning anything. We're taking the focus off of learning and focus on a virus that has killed less people than the flu, like she said. I mean, what happened to the flu? Suddenly it magically disappeared. Everything's COVID. What is a positive COVID test? Flu-like symptoms. Now, this is ridiculous. Last time I checked, we live in the United States of America, not in a foreign country. I can't believe I've got to take time off work to come here and argue with people about the well-being of my child. It's ridiculous. You guys are here to help teach, not decide what's good for my kid. I think that you guys should allow us to make a decision. If our kid wants to wear a mask, they can wear it. If they don't want to wear it, they don't have to. It's a free country. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that signed up outside that hasn't spoken? Is there anyone in the audience that has not spoken and would like to make public comment? Okay.
I echo your comments 100% too. I'm a grandma of 6, so I...
What's your name?
Vicki Spear. I'm a grandma of 6. We've lived in Greene County since '07, just now having 3 kids who attend here. So being a grandma of 6, I truly, dearly love kids, and I do anything I can to protect those kids. And I will start off with saying I think putting a mask on a child is one of the worst things you can ever do. As she hit on the virus survival rate for a child, 99.997%. The flu, far worse, but we never had worried about masks or quarantining with the flu. So that blows that one out. Some people say teachers are high risk. Wear a mask. If you're worried, wear your mask. If it works, you're protected. The CDC has been wrong so many times. It's been proven over and over. Just Google it. You can see how many times they've been wrong. And they've moved the goalpost so many times we don't even know what they think. Europe has not put masks on their kids. Sweden, they're not now. Sweden never has. And if you want a true mask study, look at Florida and Texas versus California, New York, and Michigan. There you have one test. There's been a Danish study on masks. I suggest you look that up. And I want to know, has anyone ever consulted having an industrial hygienist or occupational environmental services conduct a study and give you their input on this? That's who they called out for the air sample qualities for 9/11. Anytime there's anything dealing with air, they're the first people called out. But to my knowledge, they've never been asked any input on COVID because people don't want to know the truth. This has become a political issue rather than a health issue. Schools should be about the kids' welfare, protecting them and doing what's best for them. Playing this political game and using our kids as pawns, using the fear factor and that they're going to take the virus home to grandma, in my opinion, is cruel. This is a free country and we need to continue to act like it. Because if your mask, once again, truly works, and you choose to wear it, that's fine. I don't care. Do you have on a mask? That doesn't bother me at all that you have a mask on. And I know she talked about the story of the teacher who has some symptoms and took her mask down. The part the CDC does not want you to know is that teacher did share COVID to those 12 kids, but there were also 12 kids in the classroom who did not get it, and all 24 kids were wearing a mask. That's the rest of the story. And as the young gentleman pointed out, take a poll. And I know I've talked to Mr. Provo about this. Take a poll, send home a questionnaire to each family, asking them their thoughts. Have them put it down on paper, bring it back in. Let's see what the majority wants, and let's publish those results to everyone. And unless something's changed, the CDC, our health department, they are to give us guidelines, suggestions. They are not lawmakers.
Anyone else that'd like to make public comment?
Hello, my name's Brittany George. I have 3 children who attend Eastern. Addie George is a senior, Corbin Eifert is a freshman, and my youngest is the 8th grader here in middle school. I just wanted to give a kind of an outlook. My son was quarantined for 14 days. I took him to go get a negative test because I thought, well, if he gets a negative, he can come back to school. He literally is 6'1", big boy, totally upset, in tears, because he's like, I'm going to fail algebra. I'm going to fall so far behind that I'm not going to catch up. This is my first year in high school. I don't want to screw up, his exact words. My other concern is I work in the medical field. Our ruling at my office is if you have contact with someone, my husband actually just got over COVID. If you have contact with someone, you have 3 days. 3 days, no symptoms, no signs, go get a COVID test, come back to work. I work in everyone's mouth, this close. I got to go back to work. There's no reason why our policies can't allow our children to go back sooner than 14 days. 14 days for him, he reminded me, he said, Mom, I'm gonna get depressed again. Last year was horrible for me. I was depressed, I was sad, I didn't want to go places, and my son is a very bubbly, very outgoing person. I'm sure Ty knows him. He's a very outgoing person. It almost destroyed him last year. My other concern with this is our learning scores. My daughter and my son both, I don't know how George's, but they both have always scored above average in English and math. I got their scores this year, they were lower. Why? Because they were not in school. Mask also, if you were touching your face constantly, I work in the medical field, some of these people do, we change our mask frequently. Each patient, we change our mask. If we take it off for lunch, we put a new mask on. Are you guys gonna give our children masks throughout the day, every hour, changing between class periods? Maybe their mask will be cleaner. If not, there is no reason to put masks on my children. If it works for you, if you wanna be vaccinated, please vaccinate, please wear your mask. That is up to you. If it works, it works. My husband's family, we've had someone who's vaccinated fully in the hospital. She's not doing well. So if the vaccine works, why is she in the hospital? I also had the vaccination. I ended up in the hospital because I have inflammation around my hearts and lungs from the vaccine. You don't hear that from the CDC. They don't want you to know that information. So please, do not treat my children different because I choose not to put the poison in their body.
Anyone else?
My name is Dominique Barr, and this is our second year at Eastern. I've got one in the elementary school and one in the middle school. I would like to point out that I am unable to get vaccinated, and I refuse to wear a mask, and that is my right as an American. I'm unable to get vaccinated because of both blood clotting disorder and another disorder that I'm not going to disclose. It is not up to you to parent my child. If I want to get my children vaccinated, I will do so. Just as it is not up to you to determine whether my child can breathe. Think about that. You are making it hard for our children to breathe. Now let's also consider for a minute that not every child in this school, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, comes from a good home. They come from homes that they get ignored, they're beaten, and you're covering up their bodies even more. You're telling them you don't want to see the smile on their face when they walk through that school and they have a break from those abusive, awful guardians. So the first suicide we have in our school district, because that child's not seen, their blood is on your hands.
Any more comments?
My name's Kelly Martin. I have a daughter at the high school. I want to address the Governor Holcomb that's wanting to mask our children. We were at the state fair with thousands of people in the Pepsi Coliseum, and the man himself is not wearing a mask. So we do not need to mask our children. This is something that does not affect our children. And the children should not be responsible for taking care of elderly people. That burden should not be put on them. I myself would feel if it takes, parents have to sign a liability waiver, that we won't sue the school if our kid gets it. I'm for that, as whatever it takes to keep these masks off our kids and our kids in school, I am for, but no masks.
Anyone else?
Brandon Stevens, got multiple kids to go here, nieces and nephews. I gotta say one thing, elections have consequences. Next time we vote for a school board, remember this vote tonight. Amen.
Anyone else?
So I wasn't prepared to speak at all. My name's Joni James. I have two kids that go to this school, in elementary school. I am anti-mask. My children know how I feel about the mask, and I just feel like it is setting a terrible example for our kids. They know how we feel. Like, it's time that we stand up for something that we believe in. This community is totally separated, and it just breaks my heart. I would just love to see our community come together. People are just so one side. I don't know. That's just all I wanted to say. I felt that I needed to say that. We need to come together for our kids. I mean, ultimately, we all want the same thing. And I just don't think masks are the answer for our children.
I'm Pamela Crow. I have two kids in the middle school. I have 6th and an 8th grader. I have 20 plus years of dental experience. I don't work for an oral surgeon or an orthodontist anymore, but I can tell you that masks and gloves are one of the biggest causes of cross-contamination that there is. People touch them. As soon as you touch them, they are no longer good to be used around. You've taken whatever was on your mask and put it on your hands. Whatever you touch is now contaminated with what was on your mask. I am concerned that those germs are now going, when we take our mask off at lunch, we put it in our pocket, we put it back on, we may have one in our pocket like I do. We are now touching our food. We are introducing whatever was on our masks into our food if our kids are not taking their time to wash their hands. And that is a big deal. There's a lot of germs all over that we are now introducing that we have been protecting ourselves from, whether correctly or incorrectly, that we are reintroducing to our bodies differently because we are no longer breathing through just the normal air. We are breathing through a mask and filtering those out, and then we touch it all, and they get a massive dose. Whenever they don't wash their hands, they stick their fingers in their mouths. The kids are playing with them throughout the day. So that is a big concern for me. I don't like masks. I don't agree with them. I'm not going to fault someone who does. My family and I are not vaccinated. We are the only 4 out of my entire side of my family. And my dad, as an oral surgeon, asked me this weekend, he said, if 50% are vaccinated and 30% have had COVID, why are we concerned with the other 20%? And I thought it was a very good point. I don't know the answer to that, but I felt that it resonated with me, and it might resonate with everybody else as well.
My name is Dan Reiteicher. I've got a high school student and an elementary student. I personally don't envy the position that you guys are in, but I think that short of our students wearing hazmat suits, they're never going to be fully protected from a virus. This virus is never going to go away. It's been, I agree with the person that said, you just have to just deal with it. I think the data is showing that our kids are not at a high risk, and I do sympathize with people who have been affected by the sickness, and I know friends and family who have had it, and I don't wish that on anybody. But where do we go from here? Are we going to continually wear masks? Is it ever going to end? And I'll say no, it's never going to end. It's impossible to eradicate this virus. It's never going to go away. Again, I do sympathize, but to me, this is a divisive issue. It's pretty clear that we got people on both sides of this situation. Having said that, I think common sense should rule, and it should be left to the parents to make that decision.
I didn't actually have prepared remarks. I just had a quick question.
What's your
Oh,
name?
sorry, Ryan Workman.
Ryan?
Workman. My question is, what is your exit strategy? I echo the previous speakers. First of all, masks as they're used will never work. In a medical setting where they're following every rule, they might. In America, in schools, they won't work. They actually cause a lot of harm, as the previous speaker said. So my question is, what is the exit strategy? When will you get rid of them? 20 years from now? 30 years from now? That's just my question. If you have one, please let us know. Please make it part of the policy, saying, oh, we'll get rid of them when this happens. Thank you.
My name is Jolly Brown. I'm an 8th grade student here, and I'm not pro-mask. It's not fair to the kids at school who don't believe in it and are forced to. It's not fair to the kids at school who have problems breathing already because of asthma. It's not fair that we have to be in masks all day long when teachers can sit at their desk with the mask pulled beneath their nose. It's not fair to be yelled at by people who don't even follow their own rules that they say they believe in. I know life isn't fair, and I know that not everyone can get what they want all the time, but this is something that we can change, and if people could just see for 1 minute the other side of this argument and understand that kids don't want to wear these masks because it just makes it harder for them, it would be so much different. School would be so much more enjoyable.
nobody wants to wear a mask. I have anxiety, and last year, I remember I would have this one class where I would never be allowed to take off my mask right after gym, and I'd have to go out in the hallway all by myself and miss class just so I didn't have a panic attack in the middle of class. And nobody likes this. It's not fair. It's just not working.
Anyone else? Any previous speakers like to reclaim some time?
I'd like to say something. My name is Matt Patterson. Most of you probably know me. I think we've sent some emails to you guys. My family has. When we voted for a school board, I voted for someone to run the school and educate my children. I would like to have a school board that doesn't try to tell me how to raise my children. I didn't vote on a medical board. I don't think any of you are medical doctors. If we want to wear a mask, let them wear a mask. If they don't. Does anybody know about what your oxygen level is inside your mask when you're wearing it for long periods of time? Really not even that long. My job, I'm a confined space tech. We have monitors when we have to go into spaces that read oxygen level, CO, methane. If you take that detector that we use to save our life and put it in the corner of the mask, in less than 15 seconds, it will beep low oxygen. Can you live? Yes. But do we want to have our students in masks for 8-9 hours a day in a low oxygen environment? That wouldn't be fit for me to go rescue someone. They wouldn't let me go in there with that monitor going off. But we're going to put masks on our children. The box of N95 masks, it says right on the side, they do not protect from virus and infection. They have to be properly fitted. I have to go for a fit test every year by a trained OSHA person who fits me. I have to breathe inside a hood. And if I taste bananas, and I'm not lying, bananas, the mask doesn't fit me. Are we going to fit test every one of our children for masks? OSHA says on the side of the box of N95, it says, if not properly fitted, there can be illness or death caused by not fitting the right mask to our children. Our cloth mask, our grandma made them, N95 masks, don't protect us. Cloth masks aren't going to protect us either. Are we going to tell our children, you got to have this mask, or we just, whatever you can cover your face with, whether it be a gaiter or whatever. Let the parents make the decisions on their own children. Run the school, get them educated, where they can go to college and be a successful adult. And let us raise our children.
Anyone else? We've got about 8 minutes. For a couple of comments.
I'll back up what you said. I'm Steve Martin. I'm a lineman for Duke Energy. And to go on with what Matt said, when the mask mandate first come out at work, we try to do it. But like you said, we got out the air monitors, and they realized that the carbon monoxide level inside our mask was higher than what OSHA standards were. So they took away the mask up in the buckets for us because our glasses were fogging up, we couldn't breathe. And to have kids sit in class all day long, this is a mandate. CDC doesn't say, well, you got to have this mask on or that mask, or like I said, grandma makes one. It's a mandate. There's laws out here that every one of us break every day. There's a speed limit sign right out here. I guarantee you, parents out here, if they want to wear masks, it's fine, but they're probably speeding down the road. Hell, they're breaking the law. It's not a mandate, that's a law. There's a cell phone discrepancy of law. You can't use a cell phone while you're driving. Guarantee you people up here every day driving down the road, their kids in the car, on the cell phone. But as far as these masks go, it's a mandate. It's not a law. Let us police our children the way we want to police them, if that's what you want to call us, policing the kids. But as far as my family goes, we're not wearing masks. kids don't want to wear a mask, I don't want to wear a mask, you know? But I mean, just let the parents be parents, you know, and you guys be the school board, you know? So, best of luck with your all's decision, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
My name's Tracy Spear. I think COVID got off to a wrong start in that first thing I heard about COVID is we're going to count deaths in this strange way, unprecedented, that we've never counted before. If you tested positive and you're in a nursing home or you're in hospice, even if you recovered, we're going to count that as a death. So even at that, even counted that way, our survival rate among age groups is really, really high. I think it's strange that the CDC hasn't come out with a controlled study of individuals. What they cite is computer models and mannequin tests to come up with their data for their mask mandate. Why don't they do a study using people, using individuals, using kids? I think it's obvious why they don't. And, I know people who tested positive almost a year from now, they still have antibodies and still doing testing. And last of all, I'll say, just checking the health site, Greene County's had 2 cases today, and we're in the orange.
My name's Pastor Lauren Weems. Boy, never thought I'd see a day like this. We study many things. We're looking into the Word of God. We know that times like this are coming. It's going to be worse and worse. Right now, this is a perfect example of a well-organized minority ruling the majority. It may be time that the majority stands up and changes that. Just think about that. You guys had stated that the reason you made your decision was because you were fearful of things that could happen. Might happen. And without it being the law of the land, you're trying to make decisions and to make it law of the land in your own community. You're taking authority over our children, over our people, over the majority. That's not right. That needs to be corrected. I want to challenge you, the board, to reconsider and to make things right. I think you're on the wrong path. But you're trying to do the right thing. I understand that. You're trying to protect everybody. You're trying to make it your own agenda, I guess. You're deciding that this is the best way. We have heard from the community who have studied well this situation that say, no, we disagree. We don't think this is a wise decision. The majority says so. It may be wiser to listen to the majority. For you know that the multitude of counsel, there is safety. This is a great, safe multitude of counsel here. There have some that stood up and said they agree with you, but that's the minority. Let the majority rule. Trust that. Be fearless in your challenge. In Jesus' name, I pray.
Amen.
Anyone else? We got about 2 minutes.
Okay, there's one more. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I know some of my friends and family and I have grant that probably you have mentioned before. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. But we were wondering if that has anything to do with certain protocols that you follow. So say you don't go with the certain protocols that you guys are following for COVID. Will that affect you in the grant? So in a way, deep down, I kind of want to be like, well, it's probably all for money. You know what I mean? And so that angers me a little bit more because just like they're saying, we should take a poll. And I know a couple of other people have mentioned, maybe you have done this, I'm not for sure, but as far as the grant goes, what are we spending that money on? And do we get a say-so as a community and our children going to this school, do we get to have a say-so on that? So I just wanted to bring that up as maybe another question.
I think that concludes our public comment time. Does anyone on the board have any comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I hope everybody here, first of all, understands we're not doing this in a bubble. I personally have talked to physicians at Riley. I've talked to general practitioners in the area. Talked to infectious disease specialists at IU Health. We're not trying to do this in a bubble. We don't like making these decisions. I can guarantee you that conversations that's gone on between the board, it's not been an easy decision. There's no agenda. There's no money agenda here. One thing we hear back is kids aren't doing well virtual. We understand that. The physicians say the same thing. You know, if you all saw Dr. Moore speak at the NCCSC board meeting, reiterated the same thing. We understand that. We're trying to make the best decision. I mean, you can see right here at the top paragraph of our policy, you know, as a board, we're required to follow that. I know there's emotions out there. I get that. I'm not necessarily even disagreeing with you. But we're supposed to follow that as a school board. You know, the government, the state of Indiana tells us we're supposed to follow these guidelines. And we're trying to make the best decision to keep these kids in school and learning. We understand that that's the utmost priority. We get that. And we've taken this very, very serious. We don't want to be doing this, but we're trying to make a decision that keeps these kids in school and learning as much as possible, because we see that kids do better when they're in school. You know, but if we don't do the masking, we still have to follow state guidelines. And if you disagree with that, I get that. I totally understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying we have to follow those guidelines. We're required by the state of Indiana to follow those guidelines by the health department. CDC's recommendations, I get that. The health department's who gives us our guidance, and we're supposed to follow that. So, and we're trying to do that the best we can. Okay, we're trying to make the best decisions we can based on that guidance that we're supposed to follow. And I just hope everybody understands, you know, I can guarantee nobody's on a political agenda up here. We're trying to do what's best for these kids. Again, we're not doctors. Get that. We've consulted doctors, we've consulted people, you know, who have told us information about, you know, that see these kids. Pediatricians that see the kids in this school and give us good feedback. We're trying to follow that. So I just hope you understand that when we're making decisions about this stuff, we're trying to do what's best for these kids. I get people have opinions that differ. I'm sorry if you think we're not. We really are. We're trying to follow the best guidelines we can to keep these kids in school. That's number one priority. We know test scores have been lower. We're trying to do things to help these kids.
I'm going to piggyback onto that about the it not being political. If it were political, we wouldn't have had this meeting, and we wouldn't have been in masks from day one.
Pretty sure
We did-
Trent Bravo said it was political in his message. In his recording, he said this is very political. Don't give us that crap when he said it, so, didn't you?
Ma'am.
Did you not say it?
Ma'am, time for public comment is over. You have your say.
I'm just telling you what your own person said. Apparently, you can't remember. Yeah, he said it's very political. I can play it for you if you want. Don't lie and say it's not political when you said it is.
One more, and we have the officer escort you out. It's not political. We have this meeting, we didn't have to have a meeting. We didn't have to vote on this in a public meeting. Linton didn't vote on this. Shackmack didn't vote on this. B&L didn't vote on this. NCCSC didn't vote on this.
We're not them.
They just did it. Okay? We are having a meeting here to listen to you. We have some good questions. I have a whole list of questions written down here and suggestions that we are going to go back and consider. Okay? This is not political. All right? Are there other comments on board?
You get doctors, professionals on one side that produce statistics, and you get doctors and professionals on the other side that produce statistics opposite to what you say. It's very difficult to try to get to the middle. I think members of this board, though, they want to tell you what they think you need. They don't want to listen to what you want.
Other comments from the board? Okay.
Can I ask a question or no?
I'm sorry, no public comment time. If you want to email us, okay?
Just why can't we be different? Why can't we stand up to, you said it's a recommendation from the health department. Why can't we set the example and see what happens? The community will back you up. It's gotta start somewhere.
Sir, you prefaced your comments earlier
At this time,
tonight.
I'm going to read the Eastern School Civility Policy. Okay? We have a civility policy here at the school. The reason I feel like I need to read this is because we had a violation of it last week in one of our buildings. All members of the Eastern Green School Corporation will treat parents and other members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. Our school is committed to maintaining orderly educational and administrative processes and keeping schools and administrative offices free from disruption and preventing unauthorized persons from entering school on district grounds. This policy promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among our school community's employees, parents, and public. This policy is not intended to deprive any person of his or her right to freedom of expression, but only to maintain, to the extent possible, a safe, harassment-free workplace for students and staff in their interest of presenting Eastern employees as positive role models to children of our school district and greater school community. Eastern School encourages positive communication and discourages volatile, hostile, or aggressive actions. The school seeks public cooperation with this endeavor. And this is not new. This is about 5 years old. Disruptions. Any individual who disrupts or threatens to disrupt normal school office operations and its events, threatens the health and safety of students or staff, willfully causes property damage, uses loud and or offensive language which could provoke a violent reaction, or who has otherwise established a continued pattern of unauthorized entry on school district property will be directed to leave school property promptly. If any member of the public uses obscenities or speaks in a demeaning, loud, insulting manner, the administrator or employee to whom the remarks are directed will calmly and politely admonish the speaker to communicate civilly. If corrective action is not taken by the abusive party, the employee will verbally notify the abusive party that the meeting, conference, or telephone conversation is terminated, and if the meeting or conference is on school premises, the offending person will be directed to promptly leave. When an individual is directed to leave the building principal or designee shall inform the person that he or she will be banned from future contact for 30 days after being directed to leave, or within 7 days if the person is an agent, a parent or guardian of a student attending that school. Patrons may be banned up to 1 year for physical violence or if they incite such violence. If an individual refuses to leave upon their request or returns before the applicable period of time, the building principal or designee may notify law enforcement officials. Okay? We want to be civil, all right? We're not all going to agree. There are people on both sides of this issue. Also, whatever decision we make tonight is not finite. It's not infinite to the end of the year or forever. If the board votes to do a mask mandate and our cases continue to rise, then obviously the masks don't work. If our board enacts a mask mandate and the cases fall off and we have 0 cases by our October board meeting, then we'll lift the mask mandate. We don't want them in masks, but like Scott said, we are being guided and told that we need to do this. All right? Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
We can adopt the agenda now.
Y'all do work for us. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Never gonna have
Adoption of the
0
agenda.
cases, ever.
It is recommended that the agenda for the August 9th, 2021. That's not right.
September 7th.
September 7th. Meeting be approved as presented with additions, corrections, or deletions as recommended by the board. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Sharon Max. Second. Hudson. I think we had the discussion. All those in favor of adopting the agenda? Okay, I'm going to ask again. All those in favor of adopting the agenda? Okay, all those opposed?
One vote.
6-1. Code of protocol. Recommendation to approve the attached code of protocol as presented.
So can you answer the question what you're gonna
You
do
are-
if they don't wear masks? Because my child's not wearing a mask.
Sir, can you please? Recommendation to approve the attached code of protocol as presented. Do I have a motion? Ron Childress? A second? Sharon Epps? Anyone else on the board would like to say? Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Passed 6-1. Adjournment. It's recommended that the meeting be adjourned at 7:48. Mike Adams, motion by Mike Adams, second by Scott Carmichael. All those in favor? Passed.